going to target it this way. Good morning. Yeah, so this is all about the swing of the pelvis. I'll talk you through the first bit, which is really getting this idea of the weight of the femur the into the pelvis, into this area, having that idea of that. And then this idea of spreading the the iliac crest and feeling the movement of the tail on the floor. And then we're going to go into some sideways stuff and feeling this turn of the leg. But the key question, Bo, is finishes with this, and that is that when you go to sit down, how does this swing happen? So I'll just give some examples of how this swing happens. Like if if I go to sit down like that, you see how this foreshortens. I could also sit, and so it's how this swings between that is the fun examination. So it's that you've got your sits bones here, and then you also have the the femur coming into this structure at the base of the pelvis here, and how that can be freed up, or you use the same sensation of freedom on the floor as you do in here as you come to sit down. So this is like almost swinging between these two, like that. So if this is the acetabellum, and this is the top of the femur coming into there, then it's kind of like that. So the top can swing between that. So is that a good analogy? So that when you come to sit down and you're swinging between that place there, then when you're actually sitting, you can fit. This to me is vertical dart. When you're sitting on your sits bones, how the sitting allows the whole of the spine to use gravity to elongate, and also that there's freedom then in the pelvis because the femur sinks into the pelvic girdle. And yeah, so that's today's study. And I think it's a fantastic one because this is something we do all the time, and it's also one that I don't think anyone can tell you about, if that makes sense. So we'll just dive in, and I'm going to join you. We'll just do it together, since it's just you and me, kid. And I might do some hands-on if that's all right, Bo. But, so just start with allowing the structure to sink into the floor. Feeling that point on the back of the head. And letting that point inform the rest of the skull so that the muscles around the skull can release. And Raymond Dart wrote a whole piece about malocclusion and its relationship to the rest of the body. How if there is overbite or side bite or imbalance in the jaw, it can lead to imbalance in the rest of the skull, which can lead to imbalance in the whole of the rest of the spinal relationship. Good morning. Morning, Kelly. Oh, that's okay. We just started, really. Yeah. What's your name? Kathleen, very nice to meet you. Yeah, so we're going to start off in something called constructive rest. And you have a book or a block under the head. You may or may not need it. And we'll talk you through it. So Dart used the floor to inform release, basically. And so you just use whatever invitations I give to find whatever release that you can find in relationship with the ground, with the ground, with gravity. Okay, so if you lay your head on the book, and I advise that you bring the book down onto the towel, because eventually we're going to lie directly face down on the floor. So if you scoot down a bit, yeah, perfect. Yeah, yes, that's great. Oh, that you got the perfect book. Yeah. And then if you bring your feet up towards your bum, so your knees are up, and if you have your feet turned out, your legs will fall outwards. Yes, if you have your feet turned in, your legs will fall in. So if you find a happy balance where the legs just don't know whether to fall in or out. Yeah, great. And sometimes I use my hands to bring about release. If you don't want me to use my hands, then just say, not today, thank you. Yesterday, okay. Yeah. So we were just talking about the connection of the back of the head to the floor, and you just allow the contact of the back of the head on the floor to bring about release of the muscles around the skull. Is that okay if I use my hands? And then if you can allow the idea of that release extending down the spine so that it brings about lengthening in the neck. And you're not trying to straighten the neck, you're just allowing it to settle. So one of Dart's credos is, what can I let go of as a result of this movement? The key phrase being, what can I let go of? So on the in-breath, allow yourself to scan through your system for tension, for things that you're holding on to today. And then on the out breath, let that go. Let gravity, this welcoming planet, just take that tension. Then bring your mind to the next two points that are in contact with the floor, and your shoulder blades. And you're just going to invite the same kind of direction of your imagination to allow release in the shoulder blades, giving into the floor. It may be that the shoulder blades are just melting. There's, of course, a direct muscular relationship between the shoulder blades and the occipital joint, that whole cradle. The spinous processes of the shoulder blades are attached. Your trapezius, just going to allow that to melt as a result. And then you're going to bring your mind's eye to your elbows. Let the idea of your elbows inform you about the length of your arm. And the weight of your arm. And as you imagine the weight of your arm, you can let the larger muscle system just melt around the structure of the bones of your arm. And as the muscles release, so there is correspondingly a certain level of lengthening. Then you're going to make a connection between all those points. And you can allow release. Your pectorals are melting away. Your trapezius is melting away. Choose your favorite melty image. And let your connection with the ground give permission to allow the muscles to just give way. What I particularly like about Raymond Dart's concepts about the body is that there's no system of judgment. There's only the experience of what happens in relationship to. And so you can ask yourself the question, what is held onto? And it isn't, there is no judgment around that. There's only the reality of something being held or something being let go. What it feels like. Whoa. What's that like? Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the 2 points at the base of the spine, 2 or 3 points, or however, there may be lots of different points at the pelvic region that's in contact with the floor. It could be the iliac crest, it could be the sacrum, it could be your tail. And just allow your mind's eye to imagine those big bones really coming into contact with the maternal, welcoming reality of the planet, Mother Earth. And now there are all these points are in contact with the floor that gives you permission to let go. And as you let go, your spine can assume its natural and innate state of curvature. Is that okay if I use my hands? Okay. And of course, now the 3 points on each foot you can bring your mind's eye to. The heel, point behind the big toe. The point behind the little toe. And those are the points that allow the fantastic arced structure of the foot, like a pop-up tent. But there's no overt tension in that. So when you put up a pop-up tent, there's this point where there's like everything stretches before it goes into those eye holes, those eyelets. You imagine that maybe in your foot there's that stretching before it goes into the eyelets, and then as your foot meets the floor, it's the tensile structure comes into where it wants to be. And there is a settling. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So today we are talking about the connection between the femur and the pelvis and the wings of the pelvis. So, I'd like you, first of all, to just imagine the sinking of one side of the pelvis into the floor. And it's not that you are raising the other side, it's that you're just imagining the weight of the femur coming into the pelvis on that side, and you're letting that weight inform you of the relationship between the femur, your pelvis, your sacrum, and the floor. Yeah, like that. Yes. Yeah. And later on, when we're playing with this, when we're sitting down, you need to remember that feeling. This is your knee. That's your femur. Yeah. You see how that goes? Doing. Yeah. Here's your knee. That's your knee. There. You. There's your femur. Ooh. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I'm gonna encourage is on the we're using breath, of course, to find release, but at the same time, clock the narratives that go through your mind and allow them to drift through. And I would encourage images while we're talking about the pelvis of security and solidity. The pelvis kind of has a mind of its own. There's a bundle of nerves that all swim around in there. Yeah. And so tell the story of security so that those muscles in the pelvis can release. The big major muscles, the pelvic floor muscles. Yeah. The iliotibial band. Yeah. Yes. The psoas. Really give yourself the luxurious permission to let go. Ooh. Yeah. And then what I'm going to encourage is that you begin to play with the idea of sinking down on one side of the pelvis and then sinking down on the other side of the pelvis. And by that, I mean that you imagine the weight of the femur feeding into the floor. So there's like a suspension bridge of your foot, lower leg, upper leg into the pelvis on both sides. And then there is the bowl that's in contact with the floor. You know, imagine that the weight of the leg feeds into that bowl one side and then feeds into bowl the other side. And as it feeds from one side to the other, allow the pelvis to spread out across the floor as it gently rocks from one side to the other. So the care that I invite with this rather weird study is that as you roll from one side to the other, look for the unexpected result in the weight of the leg. Look for what you can release in the front. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. If you're playing with the pelvic floor searching for the ground, how can the relationship with the ground allow release in the whole of the pelvic girdle? And the next question you might ask yourself is, what am I expecting to become tense in this movement? How can I pause, look at what I'm expecting, and undo that expectation before I move? So a couple of interesting uh, instigations with this could be the idea of gently wagging your tail on the floor, or rather than tilting the pelvis, imagine the iliac crest, the those crests sinking in, giving way to the floor, and so the rest of the bowl following because it gives way to the floor. And then I'm going to add to this the question of, what are your shoulder blades doing? So as you're doing this, are your shoulder blades suddenly tensing up in relationship to this? Or in doing this, is your head and neck suddenly tense as a result of doing this? And so now you're going to sink a little bit more on one side, and then allow that sinking to then sink more on the other side. So stay sunk on one side, and you're going to sink on the other side, and you may feel that your foot begins to come off the floor as a result. Yeah. And so when that begins to come off the floor, you're going to take hold of your knee. Just gently reach forward underneath the leg and take the. So if you feel like just grabbing the leg, see what happens if you sink down on one side, really sink. And then as that sunk and you sink down on this side, this floats. Eee. Then you can take hold of it. Yeah. And you can take hold of both hands. And it doesn't need, this is not a stretch. What you're actually asking for is the weight of the femur to come into the socket. Yeah. So you feel all, so this can just be floppy. Oh, this can be floppy. And as that is in that position, you can ask questions of the pelvic girdle. Is this free? Ooh. Yes. Yeah. So the pelvic girdle is to some degree free from the movement of the socket of the femur going into your acetabellum. Yeah. Yes. So all the time when that leg is up there, ask yourself the question, what in this movement then becomes held? Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Beautiful. And while you're exploring that, give yourself the permission to maybe let go of the hands and just see if that leg will dangle there. And then gently let that leg come down into contact with the floor so that the foot spreads. Always still sinking. Keep sinking, keep sinking, keep sinking. Yeah.
Didn't understand how raise.
That's okay. So I think the idea is that this comes into here, so that when this comes into here, this begins to come up off. And then you can hold under there. You maybe hold with both hands if it does not, it's not a stretch, so that it sits. Yeah. And you can find, and you then play on both sides with that. You can even play with both legs being in the air, but do one side first so that you then see what's what in that joint. There. So there's little places where it's really fascinating to me. There's places when I'm playing with this where I go, okay, that's quite happy, and then the next minute there's a movement and the all the pelvic muscles respond and say, quick, you've got to do something. And so there's this continual search for the freedom of that socket. And this is particularly relative to when one is sitting in a chair. There's like a secret life of that joint going on all the time while you're sitting in a chair. Cars are a continual relationship between uh, this structure. Cars actually are very destructive to one's relationship with one's pelvis. You have to be on a continual state of vigilance in a car. And in this situation, you're just going to go, my leg, my wonderful leg is quite happy. My wonderful leg is wonderfully free to move in that socket. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a good instinct there. There we go, right. And observe how the butt muscles behave in this, the big gluteals. Okay. So now, it's going to roll over onto one side. So extend one arm up above your head. You're going to look towards the underside of that arm. And you're going to say, oh, there's something wonderful under there, which might be the underside of your arm. And you can just roll over onto that edge. Then you can put your head on that arm. Yes, yes. Really enjoy this fetal position. And here in this position, you can use the gravity of your pelvis in relationship to the greater trochanter. That's the big bony bit at the top of the femur that's on contact with the floor there. That's just going to be encouraged to sink into the pelvis. So I'm going to give you a little sensation of that. Yes. You feel that? You feel that on the bit that's in contact on the other side? Yeah. There. So this bit on the other side is going to go, yeah. Very good. And you can put your upper arm on the floor, your upper hand, that is, and then give yourself a little rock, tiny rock backwards and forwards. You're going to tell the side of your body. Yeah, little snake. Yes. Yeah. Tell it that it is on the floor. Yes, exactly there. There you go. And then you're going to let one arm, the top arm, drift up to the ceiling. So you're going to let the ends of the fingers drift upwards into the ceiling. So you're going to extend that arm, the upper arm, that is, sorry. And this is a fun game. There, Kelly, yes. Yeah. It's going to extend all the way up. And then you're going to feel the weight of your arm sinking into your shoulder girdle. Great. That's really great. Yes, exactly. And when you've done that, what I invite you to play with is the movement of, and I'm just going to show you the beginning of your arm, which is in there. That's the beginning of your arm. You're going to play with that moving around so that it moves the whole of the arm and the shoulder blade. Yeah. And the tiniest movement. That's okay. Here we go. This is the beginning of your arm. In here. Yes. The tiniest movement of that thing causes a lot of movement at the other end. Yeah. You feel how that affects this? Isn't that weird? Yeah. So then if this whole structure moves this way, yeah. And this whole structure moves back down that way. Yes. So that way you can recognize the bony contact with the rest of your arm, and also how much influence that has on the rest of the structure because of the weight of your arm. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, Bo. Beautiful. And let that arm just come down back to the floor in front of you. Yeah, really nice work. And then with your bent knee, you're going to sink the pelvis into the floor and allow that knee just to drift up away from the other knee. Yes. And keep playing with the idea of the weight of the leg allowing movement rather than the idea of muscles causing movement. Yes. Yes. So that the tensegrity structure allows the movement rather than the pulling of the muscle to cause the movement. Of course, there's going to be some engagement there, but the play is to see how much you can let go of in that movement. Yes, great. Really great. Yeah. Yep. So is it possible to feed that weight into there in such a way that, yeah. So in there somewhere, there is just a floaty feeling. Yeah, there. Okay. So then you're going to look the other way and begin to rotate over onto the other side. Very nice. We'll just do the same thing on that side. Letting the arm float up to the ceiling. Just get to remind your pelvis of where it is. Yeah. And there. Yeah, that's your length. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, and you can just let that. So the idea of knowing where the beginning of your arm is with that bone is so that then your shoulder blade can come away from the back. Yeah, great. So if this is the beginning of your arm, let's see, there. And that means that this all must be part of the arm. Yeah, exactly. Whee. So this is your back, your torso, and this is not your back. Yes. There, do you feel how this let go as a result? Okay, so if we go back to saying this is your back, you feel what happened? Do you feel how this just stopped? But if we say this is your arm, then it all starts moving around again in here. Yeah. Yes, that's beautiful. Okay, so then as you're going to bring that hand back down, you're going to do the same thing with your leg that you did the other side, the same exploration. Yeah. I don't know where the time has gone, but we are going to have to roll now onto our front and just do a bit of prone. So you're just going to roll onto the front and lie face down. Just going to take a couple of seconds in face down with your hands just next to your ears. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So this is a funny position. You've never been in this position before.
My nose is in the way.
Yeah, your nose is in the way. Yeah. Now you can put this under your sternum. That might help. Yeah. And then you're just going to feel an elongation along here. Yeah, there you go. And in this position, you're just going to tilt your pelvis in the same way. Imagine that your tail is wagging in the same way. So, sink in on one side and you just feel your pelvis tilt on one side. Yes, that's exactly it, Bo. Yeah. And this, this, this is where the gluteus maximus and medius, they all want to play. And you're just going to see how much you can let go. So you can bring your mind's eye to the vestigial tail of your monkey and just let that do the wagging. Let that do the pelvis, the movement of the pelvis. So you can let go of so many of those other major muscles that are all going, we definitely need to help you here. No, you can go, it's all right. It's all right. And you'll let the tail do the business. Let the bones in relationship to the planet do the business. What a great image. Yes, scooping. It's like uh, Dart talks about the 4 different relationships that you have with the earth. It's like all of them all bundled into one. Yeah. Okay. So I want to bring this into contact with the chair. So I'm going to invite you to bring one, actually just push back and imagine the tail pushing back towards the wall behind you. So you come into a crawling position. Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to imagine you are looking at the world out the top of your head. I'm going to fill my hand with your back. Yes, great. So you still have the floor here. Yeah, great. Exactly. Yeah. And so you're going to just crawl towards this chair. And Kelly, let your back fill here. Yes. What was that like when you made that adjustment? What happened? Isn't that a strange thing? Go back to the old way just for a sec. Yes. You feel what that does down here? Do you see what happens in your arms here? Yeah, great. Brilliant. Nice. And then put your hands on the chair. Very gradually, you're going to come up on your feet. Oh, sorry, Bo. I didn't get there in time. Put the chair. Yeah, nice. And don't be so keen on coming straight up. Keep your knees bent so you can feel. Just bend your knees a little bit so you can feel like a monkey. Yes. That's it. Keep this. And then lengthen your arms. Yeah, you're going to walk your feet forward a little bit more underneath you. Yeah. Just going to turn this chair around for a bit. Yes, very nice. You know, hold on to the back of the chair. Yeah. And come up a little bit more. Yeah. Pop your hands on there. I'm just going to play with this for a little bit. Yes. And extend your arms. Like this. Like you can put your hands on the back of the chair here and come up a little bit more. Yes. Keep your knees bent. Yes. Do you feel what happened to your tail when you kept your knees bent? They're great. Okay, great. Yeah. Bring this into you a little bit more. And don't come all the way up. See if you can be in this position. So this is called a position of mechanical advantage, where you're not quite up and you're not quite down, but you're still looking. Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Yeah. So, huh?
You want my elbows bent?
Yes, whatever is comfortable. The idea is to play with gravity in such a way that there's a lot of movement. So wag your tail in this position. See if your tail can wag side to side. Yes. Yeah, it's a way of seeing that. And your head too. Yes, beautiful adjustment. Yeah, exactly. Primary curve. There's a curve here, and a curve here. Your primary curve is here, here, and here, and these are your secondary curves. And this is the dilemma of the human being, is how you relate to the secondary curves. And that I would say is to do with the springiness. Yeah. The springiness that's inherent in the spine. Okay, so just if you can, just switch the chair around. Just give it a flip. And then see if you can turn around, because we're going to use this to sit down. So as you sit, yeah, see if you can do the same thing of sending the weight into the pelvis. Yes, exactly. So when we're on the floor, there's this game of pelvis coming into the femur coming into the pelvis. And so here, it's the same game. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so this translates all the way up the spine. Yes, exactly. So then, while you're sitting there, beautiful. What did you do there? Did you
Pull my
feel
chest up.
you pulled your
Yeah.
chest up? Yeah.
And my head a little bit.
Your head. Yeah. So see if that, rather than pulling, is an outcome of the pelvis being settled. And by that I mean that sinks down. Yes, as that sinks down into the chair, this is allowed to come up. Yeah. Yeah. So even just sitting in this position, even when you're sitting, let's say you're sitting in the car or whatever, or you're sitting down, you're sitting to do some work, or you're doing emails, you can let your hands come to those points and just encourage your femur to come into your pelvis. And as that comes into your pelvis, you can feel your sits bones then come into contact with the chair. And as your sits bones come into contact with the chair, see if you can let the rest of your spine respond to that with ease. And let your shoulders drip long down your back, happily. So even in the most stressful situations or in a sitting position, and with emails, with looking at news, with driving crazy streets, you can allow your pelvis to know that you're okay. You can always take the time to remind yourself that everything's okay. Because your structure is there. Your structure is holding you. This cradle of your pelvis. Okay, now here's the fun bit. Just going to edge yourself to the front of the chair that you're sitting on. And as you edge yourself, this is still a meditation even now. As you edge yourself to the front of the chair, just see how you can find freedom and ease in that as a result of a free pelvis. It's a fun wag of a tail coming forward. And you can feel your femur just playing in its socket. It's just kind of rolling around. Yes. So that when you come to stand, your whole body is swinging in that in that in that hammock of your pelvis, so that you swing in order to come to stand. Yeah. Yes. Yes, exactly. It goes, ooh, ah. Yeah. So this is all gonna swing. Yeah. Yeah. And then take a walk. And as you walk, feel this being transported along the swing, the pelvic hammock. Eee. The step can be initiated by connection on the opposite side. Beautifully said. Yes. Yes. This is the beauty of the infinite shape of the pelvis. The that shape, which I think is no coincidence that is a shape of it's like someone mapped the way we walk and then called it infinity. So as you sink down one side, correspondingly, that same thing of sinking down one side and sinking down the other side enables the foot to come forward. Exactly, Bo. Exactly. Without tensing the knee. Thank you.